Hi everybody, this is Lesson 10, Angle Problems in Solving Equations. How can we use angle relationships to solve for unknown measurements? So what we're doing is refreshing on how different angles relate to each other. So what are the relationships between angles? And then how do we find a missing angle based on those relationships? So for our first example down here, we're going to talk about adjacent angles. Okay, and just so you know, there's different ways that we can refer to angles. So angle B degrees, that would be right here, referring to this angle. We could name it by its vertex if it's on its own, angle A. And then an example of why we would need all three is because, let's say this was point B, we would need to know, are we talking about this angle or this one? So if we are talking about this angle right here, we're talking about angle CAD. Or you could also call it angle DAC. Okay, so those are the three ways to name angles up above here in figures 1, 2, and 3. Okay, adjacent angles. Two angles next to each other. And underline next to, because that's kind of something maybe you've heard it in English or you've seen the word adjacent and you might not have known what it meant. Next to each other. Specifically in angle relationships, they share one side or ray. Okay, and the ray that they share in the diagram is right here. Okay, so angle A degrees and angle B degrees are adjacent because of this ray that we've outlined. Okay, vertical angles. This one is going to be one that is going to specifically help us in our angle relationships in this video and in the lessons to come. So let's write it and then let's talk about it. So vertical angles are two angles whose sides form two pairs of two angles whose sides form two pairs of opposite rays. And what that means here is that angle A is equal to angle B. So now that we've written it, let's go ahead and look at the diagram. These two rays, or two lines, form opposite angles, A and B, and those are called vertical angles. So if we're going to name it by the angle names DCF, so angle DCF is equal to angle GCE. Okay, so that's a vertical angles. We're going to use that one a lot. Put a star by that because it's new. It might be a new term for you, but it's one we're going to use a lot. Okay, angles on a line. So if you can outline right here, this line BAE, you can also outline BAC, CAD, and DAE. And if you notice, each one of those angles, those three angles together, form what's called a straight line. Okay, so for this one, we're going to say that the sum of the measures of angles who form a straight line will equal 180 degrees. Okay, so in this one, that means that A degrees plus B degrees plus C degrees equals 180 degrees. Okay, now these don't have numbers yet, so the examples that we're going to do will have numbers, so we can actually solve for missing angles. Okay, the last one on page 76 is called angles on a point. So for angles at a point, or angles on a point, the measure of all angles formed by 3 or more rays with the same vertex. And for this one, it's talking about right there. That's the vertex. It will be 360 degrees. Okay, and if you think about it, it's kind of like saying, okay, here's C degrees, here's A degrees, and here's B degrees. And I think most of you know that when you go all the way around in a circle, that's 360 degrees. So for this example, A degrees plus B degrees plus C degrees equals 360 degrees. Okay, now what's going to happen here is we're going to do some examples on our own, or on the video, and then in class, the next class, you're going to be doing the exercises 1, 2, 3, and 4 in class, okay? So we're going to do the opening exercises and the examples, and then you're going to be doing, in the next class, you're going to be doing the exercises. You're going to be trying those on your own. Okay, so for the opening exercise, we're going to do this one together. So name the angles that are vertical. Name the angles that are vertical. Well, vertical angles are made from two intersecting lines. So go ahead and trace over that. And we're just going to give one example for right now, for time's sake. So if you can see those two 53 degrees, that would be angle BED. Okay, again, this is BED right here. And vertical to that is CEA. CEA. And then put in parentheses, they both equal 53 degrees. They are congruent or equal. Okay, for the next one, name a pair of angles that are adjacent. We're not going to do all the angles that are adjacent. Okay, you can try your own too. It's not just limited to what I'm saying in the video. I'm going to erase this so that we can start clean. So adjacent just means that two angles share one ray. So if I look at this 79 degree angle here and this 48 degree angle here, I can see that they share this ray. Okay, so those are adjacent. So angle CEF and angle FEB are adjacent. Okay, they're next to each other, they share a ray. Okay, the next one we want to do are angles that are on a line. Okay, let's use the degrees for this one. The most obvious one is right here. If you can outline this line, you see three angles that make up that line. So here's the 53 degree angle, the 79 degree angle, and the 48 degree angle. Let's just go ahead and name it that way so that we can see clearly. It's a little quicker to just name them that way. 53 degrees plus the 79 degrees plus the 48 degrees. Okay, equals a straight line. And how many degrees is a straight line? It is 180. So let's go ahead and put that in parentheses there. Okay, now angles that are on a point add up to 360 degrees. So again, I'm going to kind of clean this up so we can start over. If I'm talking about angles on a point, I'm talking about all the angles going around. Okay, so here's our point E. All the angles going around are 53 degrees, 90 degrees, 37 degrees, 53 degrees, 48 degrees, and 79 degrees. If you want, you can add all those up to prove it, but we're just going to go ahead and write it like this. 53 degrees plus 79 degrees plus 48 degrees plus 53 degrees plus 37 degrees plus 90 degrees equals 360 degrees. Okay, So those are the angles on a point. Okay, now we're actually going to solve. So jump on over to page 77 at the top. We're going to do example 1 together. First of all, you have to look at this diagram and decide what relationship is that? What relationship is that? This angle and this angle. And hopefully you saw that they make a straight line, okay? So for this one, the relationship is the two angles and we can put in parentheses x degrees and 132 degrees make a straight line. And how many degrees is a straight line? 180. Okay, you can estimate right here. Go ahead and tell me what you think x is. We can do the squiggle to say about. X is about, I would say it's going to be about 50 degrees because 50 plus 130 is equal to 180. So I kind of want to do that one after we talked about the relationship. Okay, now the official equation is x degrees plus 132 degrees equals 180 degrees. Okay, now go ahead and subtract 132 from both sides, just like we do in an equation. And we think our answer should be pretty close to 50. So when you subtract, what do you get? Of course, you always want to pause it and find out. Okay, did you get 48 degrees? That is the final answer, and you can go back and check it. Go ahead and do 132 plus 48 just to verify that it does equal 180. A lot of kids have trouble with borrowing and carrying over of the ones. A lot of kids are often off by 10 degrees because they forget to borrow or carry when it comes to adding and subtracting with 180 and 90 and 360, those common angle measurements. Okay, so we're going to put in class for exercise 1. So you go ahead and write in class. Okay, example 2. What do you notice about these? It says describe the angle relationships in the diagram. Let's start with 144 and y. 144 degrees and y degrees. And if you need to, pause it and go back to our definitions to see which one makes the most sense for this right here. There's two lines, and they intersect, and we're talking about the points, the angles opposite of each other. So 144 degrees and y degrees are what kind of angles? Did you say vertical? They are vertical angles. Okay? And therefore are equal. Okay, so now what we need to do is kind of try to figure out what the relationship is between x and y. Well, we know that y is 144 degrees. Now what we're going to do is look at the relationship between x and y, and if you notice, they make a straight line. Not only do x and y make a straight line, you can also see that 144 and x make a straight line. So let's go ahead with that angle relationship. 144 degrees and x degrees make a straight line. And you know that a straight line is 180 degrees. So therefore, 144 plus x equals 180 degrees. Okay, now go ahead and figure out what x is equal to. Again, be careful when you subtract. Okay, did you get 36? So we know that y is 144 and x is 36. Again, you can also add those together because x and y make a straight line. And just to kind of show you that, I'm going to just do a quick visual. See right here? That also proves that x and y make a straight line. So those are 180 degrees. You can do that on any one of the lines. So y and this one, it wasn't in the question, but that one, those two also make a straight line. Okay, and then for exercise 2, we're doing that one in class. let's go to example 3. Okay, example 3 has to do with points on a line, because you can see here there's not two lines being intersected, if that makes sense. And I don't see a straight line. I can make a straight line, but that doesn't, knowing this won't help me as much. In fact, I already know what this one is. What is that blue question mark? Hopefully you remember that that's 90 degrees because of this little box here. So really the only one we don't know is the x degrees, but we do see that these three angles go around point K. Okay, so 135, 90, and x are all angles at a point. Or on a point. You might hear it said both ways. Okay, so the equation means, so that means that they all equal 360. So now we just simply set it up as 90 plus 135 plus x equals 360. Okay, go ahead and solve for the missing angle. I like to combine like terms first and call this 225 degrees, since these are both number terms. And then the x term is on its own. So 225 plus x equals 360. And then hopefully you subtracted 225 from both sides. And our missing angle x is going to be 135. 135. Again, if you're ever off by 10 degrees, go back and make sure that you didn't borrow incorrectly, or maybe you didn't even try borrowing at all. Okay, exercise 3 is going to be done in class. So you can ask questions on that one if you get stuck in class. And then we're actually going to do all of example 4 and exercise 4 in class. Okay, don't forget to do the summary on your own time, and that answers the essential question. So go back to your essential question for your summary to help with your summary. Okay, and that is a wrap on lesson 10.